Welcome back to our home renovation vlog, and last week we went ahead and did all the tiling in the kitchen, and I've tagged that video here in case you want to take a look at that. And this week we're going to be installing our beautiful shelves, and I'm going to take you through everything from the selection, installation, and next steps. But before we get started, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Claire, this is Derek, and together we are Renovate of Life. We've designed and renovated homes across 3 continents for over 10 years, and now we share tips and inspiration to help you create a cozy, lived in and inspired home. So if you have any requests for future videos, make sure to add them below. So let's get started. We're finally at the stage where we're going to be putting some shelves up. Let me show you. We bought these, they're rough cuts, they're actually really light. It's a Syrian Cedar, and there's actually a really beautiful story to the cedar which I wanted to share with you. Now, we bought these over a pine because I wanted them to match. These are cedar doors that we got from our old post office. They're antique doors. And I did want a darker wood to match sort of the aesthetic of the doors, and also just to warm up the kitchen because we've gone for a really neutral light kitchen. I have found out some really interesting information about these, and I thought I would share it. So Syrian cedar is not commonly used in houses. They are more expensive, and it is a really light wood, which makes it great for our shelves because we wanted something was going to be floating. So a hard wood would just be too heavy. We'd have to have the brackets exposed, but I didn't want to put brackets on the tiles, so we opted for the cedar. I also didn't want a pine shelf, and I also didn't want to paint it, so I had quite a wish list. The magic of this is that this is actually like a heritage tree. So cedar is not grown commercially in Australia. It's been growing here since about 1800s. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a horticulturalist, but this is just what I've found out throughout my exploration of the topic. It's quite a delicate tree. Queensland is way too humid, so it doesn't like our humidity. It also is a really slow growing tree, so nurseries tend to opt for those faster growing cedars. Also need a lot of room to grow. So obviously in our cities and bits and pieces, it's probably too built up. You can see them in like the Sydney Botanic Garden. You can see them in old homesteads, and the Syrian cedar trees, and the wood is known for its strength and endurance and connection to nature and spirit, which I think is really amazing. So I'm absolutely so excited to have this in our kitchen, and we're gonna have 2 sets of shelves on either side. Sometimes it's worth taking your time and looking for options outside of the norm, and you might find an absolute treasure like what we've found here. It's incredible. So Derek has now sanded the shelves, and it's just doing a dry kind of test before we put the, what do you call it, bracket in?
Hi everyone, look at this.
They look so good.
The only thing that would make this look better is if I was sitting on it in the kitchen. Invisible brackets. How awesome are these? I came across these in America, and lucky enough they'll find them over here too. So how they work is, and it's a bit tricky, they're not as straightforward as others, but you drill a hole the thickness of your bar, that inserts in there like that, so it's hidden, and then that bracket goes at the back, so you don't see any bracket left and right, and 2 screws fix onto the wall. Bish bash bosh, shelf is up. Magic.
Let's do it. Let's get it done. Yep.
Oh, that.
So what are you doing, Derek?
I'm putting up these brackets. I've drilled the holes. I've recessed the brackets so it sits flush. So that should sit back against the wall.
Yeah.
And of course I drilled the holes wrong the first time. So now I gotta go again. So the bracket was meant to be in this way. And then I measured it wrong. So now I gotta rotate the bracket in that way, so I can get my extra holes in there.
So just because it's a mistake, I guess you can always fix it.
And it can be fixed.
Holes can be filled.
Holes can be filled. Well, this won't be seen.
Sometimes it takes a bit of jiggery pokery,
but we get there in the end.
So we decided aesthetically to bring this shelf out over the door frame here. So rather than run the shelf from the hood to the side of the door frame. So let me just pop up on top there to show you. And I just think it gives it a little bit more of a custom look. So you can see we notched out the wood, and it's just gonna sit on top of the tiles. And I think regardless, a good lesson here is regardless of how long you've been doing it and how many times you've built your own shelves, every time is different and you can make mistakes. And Derek has built shelves and cabinets and all sorts of carpentry, but we're using so you just pre-drilled the holes.
It's important to keep good pressure on the screw as you're doing it. If you don't, it tends to bounce off the screw and it'll round your head and you won't be able to tighten or loosen it. And it's also good to do it in little bursts. They've got impact drivers now that do that, but if you're just using a DIY drill, just short little bursts, and then it tends to fall back as soon as you release the trigger and it grips again and you can go again.
So we picked up these shelf brackets from Amazon, and I'll link it below in the notes. Because we didn't buy a kit, we had to buy everything sort of separate. So we bought the wood and then bought the shelf brackets, and depending on the weight of the shelf would depend on obviously the type of bracket that you're going to need. This wood, the Syrian Cedar, is actually really light, which we went for because I really wanted the floating shelf. It's going to be perfect just for, I just want to add some decor. For a darker wood, we were also looking at a harder wood, but honestly, it was too heavy for what we needed. We would have had to put the bracket in. First shelf is up, which is very exciting, and so now we need to pick a height. So I popped some decor, which I probably won't actually use on these shelves, just to allow us to sort of see what the height is, because we have 3-meter ceilings, and what we don't want is for it to feel like it's really smushed down on the ground area, but we also don't want it to feel like it's too high that it looks ridiculous. But ultimately, these shelves are for decor only, so I want it to look like it's meant to be there. So let's all pick a height together. I have my trusty worker, aka Derek. Okay, let's have a look. Let me just stand back. Okay, I feel like that's a good height. What do you guys reckon? Let me just move back further in the kitchen. So it will be on either side. Oh, I think that's good.
Yeah? Wow, it's not always I get it right first time.
When you do, honey, it makes me happy.
Oh, me too. Me too.
Okay. Or do you think that's too high?
I don't know, I can't see from... No, I think it's good. Because like, you've such a huge space up there.
Yeah, and I'll probably have some decor that dangles down. So, this is not stuff I'll be getting up and down every day. It's going to be purely decor. Okay, let's just do it. Let's mark it up and do it. Shelf number 2 is going on. So Derek, when you installed the brackets onto the wall, did you have to use a stud finder?
Well, these are actually VJ walls. So
what does that mean?
These VJ boards, V for the groove that's between them.
But they're solid wood.
Solid wood is 22 mil thick, so that itself is enough to support the shelf, so there's no need to find the studs in this particular case. So
if you had a normal wall that was made out of MDF board or gyprock, what would you normally do?
So the best way to find it, there's normally spacings that are pretty consistent, but in the older homes, pop out a socket or a light switch, and you'd be able to look in there and see how far away from each side that your timber is.
Like your framing timber?
Yeah, and that's what you want to aim for. That's what you want to try and get center of that. So what I do is when I'm putting up a shelf and I find how far back my timber stud is, behind the shelf where the shelf is going to go and cover it up, I start drilling small holes at the start of the stud and find out how thick that stud is, and go to the end, and in the center of that is where you want to get your fixing. So that's what I do, because you don't want to put a screw in thinking that you hit the stud could be going up angle ways, you don't get a proper fixing, and then Claire would put a vase up there and it'll fall off the wall. So.
And then what if you can't see it behind the wall? What would you use?
Again, wherever you're putting your shelf, mark your shelf top and bottom with a pencil. Take that off and just use a small screwdriver or the tiniest drill bit you can get to fit on your drill, and just drill all the holes. You can fill it afterwards with caulk, or the shelf is going to cover it up anyway, but that's the best thing to do because you really want to get a good fixing for your shelves.
Okay, awesome.
You're welcome.
So we've moved over to the other side of the stove.
But he's laying in it. He looks like I'm laying down it, and I.
So when you got an exact height you're working towards, fit the bracket into your shelf and measure down from the top of the bracket, to center of your hole. And then when you've got your measurement up here, top of your shelf, you measure down center of your hole, and you mark your brackets, make sure it's level, and fingers crossed it should all slide on the way it should. On your second bracket, it's always good just to drill one hole, mount the bracket, because if it needs to be adjusted, this is the one you want to adjust. Not this one, but just the second one. It can be either side.
For the shelves, I've decided I don't want to paint them, I don't want to stain them, I just want to use a furniture wax just to give it a really nice finish, to help hydrate the wood and protect them. So let's do that today. Today is an exciting day, so I'm going to be waxing the shelves for the kitchen. I'm going to be using a furniture wax. It's clear. It is from Plain Jane, who I don't believe sell this anymore. Just give you a look. And it is just a clear furniture wax to go on any wood. And it'll just protect the wood and also give it a really nice finish. So some gloves on because I've got some cute nails and I don't want to get wax on my nails. And I'm just going to use a microfiber cloth to apply the wax. So yeah, I think this will really warm up the wood. It's going to look so pretty. Even though they're going to be sitting on the wall, I'm going to do all sides of the wood to make sure that it's really nicely conditioned. We want to avoid cracking as much as we possibly can. And this wax smells so good. So let's get staining. So I take some with the microfiber cloth and then we just rub it on. So the wood is going to soak in what it needs and then just go ahead and buff it off. It looks so good already. So that's comparing before and after. How good does that look? And they're now up. Next week I'm going to be decorating, so stay tuned till next Sunday where we share with you the next steps of our kitchen renovation. If you have any questions, add them below. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.